and I am going to give them advice. I'm hoping as well you guys can be with me, sharing your thoughts, maybe asking questions, and giving some insight, or maybe even a connection or an idea to help these entrepreneurs succeed. So my mission in the last few months has been, how can I help people start a business? How can I help people grow a business? And how can I help people who presently have a business succeed and push back against the effects of the coronavirus? So it should be fun. I just want to mention before we start talking to our first guest that there's a few interesting things going on this week. I have a podcast going live 10 a.m. Thursday morning. You can get the podcast live on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Music. Just type in the Good Luck Club podcast and you will get access to these things. Of course, on YouTube it's free. I guess you have to pay for Spotify or Apple Music, but if you're paying for it already, then maybe it's quite easy just to grab the podcast from there. It's all free. And basically, my guest this week is Dr. Christina Dean. She's been an entrepreneur her whole life. She has dedicated her entrepreneurial skills to a purpose-driven business. She believes, quite rightly, I think, that fashion as it stands today is unsustainable. She has started a business called Redress, which addresses this issue, a charity. And she's recently launched a business called the R Collection, which is pioneering the concept of recycling luxury fashion and working on luxury fashion as a recyclable model. So a pioneer, a fascinating story she has to tell. So I'll be interviewing her 10 a.m. Thursday morning on, as I say, Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio will be live there, and of course on YouTube. You can go to the Good Luck Club YouTube page or to my personal YouTube page, which some of you might be on now, depending on where you're listening to this broadcast. So if you're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, maybe you can go to youtube.com/simonsquibb to listen to the broadcast live. And Dr. Christina Dean will be joining us there, of course. She will be there to answer your questions and any insights you want on fashion, sustainable fashion, how you might be able to get involved in such things if it interests you, or you might just pick up a few tips generally, because she's a very knowledgeable entrepreneur with an amazing story about how she became an entrepreneur. She actually trained as a dentist, and she gave up that life to follow her purpose in life. An inspiring story, an insightful story. I think you guys are going to really enjoy that podcast on Thursday. And so, yeah, this week I just released a podcast with Carolyn Cowan. She is also a fascinating individual, a psychosexual therapist, an ex-drug addict by her own admission, and someone that I think has an inspiring, interesting, insightful story to tell. So that's this week's podcast. It went live last Thursday, so you can get that again for free on Spotify, Apple Music, via my YouTube channel, or any of the Good Luck Club social network channels, all for free. I hope it inspires you. I hope it helps you. Our mission is to help people start a business, and our ultimate goal would be to help people not feel alone if you do start a business. I don't want any entrepreneur to feel alone. As an entrepreneur myself, I have felt alone at points, so it pushes me today to help anybody out there that is doing something hard, doing something inspiring, doing something purposeful to not feel alone. So that's the plan. So I will also put up on Saturday a new video, the 5 entrepreneurial hacks to a happier life. I've been working on this content this week. I think it will be useful to people, anybody out there again that feels alone as an entrepreneur, anybody out there that wonders how to make the entrepreneurial journey easier, more fun, more exciting. Then I'll put that content up on Saturday again on my YouTube channel. So Aidan, shall we welcome our first guest?
Yes.
Do you want to join me, sweetheart?
Yes.
Oh yeah, play with the equalizer and make it so no one can hear us. That's a good idea. That's a good idea, isn't it, sweetheart? All right, let's see. Okay, let's have a little look. So our first guest is Winter, and I believe she's coming to us live from Hong Kong. Let's see. don't press anything, sweet face. Okay, so we're going to say hello to Winter now, okay? Ready? Hello.
Good morning, Simon.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Adorable son.
Thank you. Yes. He is amazing, and he loves to press buttons, which stops everything broadcasting and recording. But he's adorable. Definitely adorable, aren't you? Oh, see, he loves to press keyboards. Now, who's this? Say hello.
Hello. How are you? What's your name?
Aiden. Do you have kids?
Aiden. I have 3.
Oh, then you know what it's like.
He's 3. My youngest son, he's also 3.
Oh, okay.
Fortunately, he's sleeping now. So.
Oh, okay. So you're in Hong Kong, right?
No. I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, for some reason I thought you were in Hong Kong. I guess that's where we met. We met in Hong Kong, right?
I don't think we met in person. I think we just met online, and I think I met a couple of you guys in Next back then, but I didn't see you in person because I think for some reason you were not in town where I was visiting Hong Kong back then.
Right.
So, but anyway, I've been following you guys, and just so happened to saw your email, and I had pretty close contact with Peter, so so somehow I heard about you guys when I was talking to Peter, but I have very strong connection in Hong Kong, so I was always wondering what's going on, and I also heard from Peter that you guys are pretty the Hong Kong situation right now is not. It doesn't make sense for incubators to work on at the moment, which I totally understand. So that's why I'm not totally surprised you're not in Hong Kong anymore. But then I saw your emails, so I've been following your emails, and somehow I clicked into your YouTube and thought, okay, so maybe I should really talk to you now that everyone at home. So that's why I dropped you an email and just want to say hi and really get to connect in person, face to face, virtually. But happy to share what we're doing, but also would love to hear about your work and your plan. And I don't know what I can help personally, but I don't know, whatever that we can get connect more, that would be awesome.
Great. Yes. Well, I'm here to help. So tell me what you're doing and how I might be able to help you.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, a couple of years ago, we started a company, and we raised some money in Silicon Valley, and some of the bigger VC invested in us, like the IDG in Beijing and Floodgate in Silicon Valley. So we raised about 10 million US in the past couple of years, and then we became profitable. Good news and bad news, but the product itself is not growing very fast from the VC perspective. So, but fortunately, we were able to make money and still steadily growing the business. So before the virus hit, of course. So. But at the same time, we've been also thinking a lot about, me personally thinking a lot about what other things we can create in addition to what we have done in the past couple of years. And I've been feeling a lot about I spent a lot of time with blockchain, and then our company almost did ICO, and then we decided not to because the risk with the SEC and the board sort of didn't want us to do it. So it was a fortunate decision that we didn't do it. We were able to raise money back then, and we spent lots of work in the blockchain. And if you search Capital in some of the blockchain news site, you heard about us doing. I have a white paper and talk about how we can decentralize online communities, forums, and so on, so that people can vote for the community moderators and so on. So we spent a lot of work on that as well. So in addition to that, I also turned my focus in Hong Kong, and we were thinking a lot about the difficulty for a lot of blockchain company or exchange or Bitcoin exchange in general to operate legally in any country, right? So it's especially in Hong Kong. I'm sure you heard about a company called Bespoke.
Bespoke, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that they're based in Hong Kong. I think George, for his last name, was the CEO. And there was a lady called Maxine, I think. She's also, I think she's now in Australia. So they also had difficulty to ramp up their product. But then we also have the same thought about how we can, then we realized that the question is not so much about working with the banks, but more about how we can make it like the M-Pesa in Africa, where we can work with a lot of small shops to leverage them to top up money for buying Bitcoin. So that was sort of like a black job of what our thought process is. But I apologize if we kind of jumping everywhere, but at the end we created a product not related to Bitcoin at all, but more about making it easier for people to pay electronically without using banks at all, so that there's no fee for the shops to pay to the bank using PayMe or Alipay or Apple Pay whatsoever. But at the same time that using a smartphone actually top up their money, just like how you top up the octopus card in 7-Eleven in Hong Kong.
Right.
So basically the idea is you top up money in any shops and your credit can use it in all the shops that participate. So sort of like a M-Pesa in Africa where you can transfer the airtime and you send it to friends and they can use it. But it's all cash. There's no bank because the bank was expensive in Africa to transfer a small amount of money. And then slowly shops start accepting the airtime as a credit to pay for small groceries. So that's sort of like an idea, and we thought that might work in countries or regions where people still love to use cash. Small shops still relying on cash. And think about the taxi driver in Hong Kong, why they love cash so much, because a lot of them, they're part-time. And if the government knows how much they are making just by driving at midnight to make some money, they probably, the income probably beyond their line where they can get benefit, public real estate, that kind of thing. So they don't really want to let the government know how much they're making. So how can we make payment electronically that works without going through the bank? So that's we spend a lot of thought on how we can make it happen and actually usable among a small business in the same area. So we thought about how can we help the small shops to do that. So we create a model and app services. We just launched basically a couple of days ago, to be honest.
Wow.
It was supposed to be a lot earlier, but there was this virus situation in Hong Kong. We can't even visit the shops to sell, to promote. But for the first day, we have about 5 to 6 shops join us to accept that payment as a payment method. So basically, it's just like an octopus card, but right. You can use it at any shop. So that's sort of like the idea that we're working on.
Okay, just for my insight. No, I know. Of course, Hong Kong quite well. The octopus system, you can put cash on there. You can spend it at any shop. What's the difference? What is the difference between what you're doing and say what Octopus offers?
It's pretty much the same, except that the money you topped up, you can actually transfer to friends.
Oh.
Just like it's a little bit like Octopus card and PayMe.
Right.
But the idea is we don't, as a company, we don't actually touch the cash. When you top up money in the shops, the money stays in the shops, so they don't need to return to us.
Can you check the broadcast?
And our system is sort of like that the apps would promote people to visit the shop to purchase stuff so that we can sort of counter the balance in the network. So when the network gets bigger, basically people put cash into the small shops and they can use it in different shops. And as a shop owners, you don't have to worry too much about losing money or making too much money because the network would automatically sort of balance it. Maybe not perfect day to day or month to month, but there's enough cash flow into the communities that people can start paying money without going to the bank or going to the ATM. So sort of like a community bank where money sit in the shops. So that was the idea, that we make it really fair. We don't make money from the transaction, but in the long run, we wanted to build a network like that to demonstrate an electronic payment that doesn't really need settlement and doesn't really need banks to work. So that's sort of our idea behind it. And also
it feels
the idea.
Sorry, I just want to make sure for anyone listening as well that they understand the idea. So, you know, it's basically, it feels like it's designed for the merchants mainly. I feel like you put the merchants at the kind of, the client is the merchant, right? Not necessarily, well, of course, the user of the card, the person that puts the money on the card, they're also a client, but you've really tried to make life easier for the merchants. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that was the original intention, but at the same time, we thought about, can we support like people paying friends, like you can go for dinners together.
Of course,
you want to split the bill.
Yeah.
How can we make it easier?
There's loads of apps that do that as well, right? I mean, there's loads of like bill sharing.
Yeah, that's a lot of apps to do that. There's a lot of apps to do that.
Okay. So how you mentioned earlier, so you're in the market, you've got 5 shops using it, and you feel like it's working. How's the traction so far? How do you feel?
I think it's still too early, to be honest. I think it's way too early to tell, and we haven't really talked to anyone outside the actual shop's owners. I mentioned it to Peter a while ago when he was in Hong Kong. That's something we're doing. I mentioned to some of our mentors, but we never really go out to tell everyone, hey, this is what we're doing. We don't even have a pitch back.
But you raised 10 million, right? You raised 10 million US for this business.
But yes, but for Tabletop, the original product. So it was sort of like a new idea. We haven't really decided whether how is that related to the company that with Tabletop, because I personally fund the projects and I hire the girls, the marketing team in Hong Kong to do it. So I think, I don't know, it really depends on how it goes. If it needs help, a lot of help from engineering and fundraising support, I might just put it back to Tabletop and merge it. So hopefully it will be bigger than what we built before. So, but I think we will just let it wait for a little bit before we decided on that. I think the most important is to figure out, is that really what the users want? Is it really what the business wanted? Before we decide next step. So I know it's a little bit premature to share our idea with you, and but from my feeling, it's I think it will have a pretty good chance to work. There's not much. I think, especially like in Hong Kong, there's a lot of different feeling about the bigger monopolies, companies, the bigger enterprise taking shares, majority shares of the Hong Kong economies, and there's a lot of young people who are awareness. They have very high awareness nowadays in terms of like what they want to support and what they don't want to support. So I think if we just do it right, just focusing on the small shops and the young people who are actually willing to try things like this, I think that might have a good chance for us to prove that will work before we actually try in other regions. So the product is not just built for Hong Kong, but ultimately, can we become an Asian version of Square and Cash apps combined, for example? Can we do it that way? Can we make money from Bitcoins when we have enough users using it. We don't have to charge the shop owners, but we can actually set up Bitcoin in the apps, right? Just like the Cash App. So I think there's a lot of possibility beyond just helping the shop's owner. We can benefit from the network itself as well. So I think there's a huge trend, like in the US, as I mentioned, Cash App is making lots of money by just selling Bitcoins. They don't really make money by charging you a bank fee, or they don't do that, such a thing, but they make money with Bitcoin. So I think there's a lot of different models, and that this model with cash popped up in the actual shops, bypassing the banks, is actually really attractive as an exchange. You would go on to get into local people to buy and sell cryptocurrency in the future. So I think this is something that potentially will work as well on the commercial perspective. So that's our thought process, and we make a lot of mistakes in different products back in the day, in the past 5 years. So I feel that we make enough mistake that we can give it a pretty good shot this time.
Yeah.
To really.
You've seen what worked and what didn't work probably through that process. You know, I had someone ask me a question, and I'm also interested in this. Like, where do you see your revenue coming from this idea?
I think initially we probably not really make a lot of money, but at the same time, building this product doesn't really need a lot of money as well. So we have a pretty good longer time to really.
So it's just a user play. It's kind of the Facebook model, is it? It's just get lots of merchants and lots of customers using it, and then you'll monetize it later. That's the idea, is it?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not like Uber where you have to burn billions of dollars, right? I think this would be a very, very low cost.
Is it because like Square, that you need a special device? Are you able to tap into how are people? Don't you need to build some sort of technology or hardware and put it into the system?
I don't think so. We just 100% rely on the phone, on the smartphone.
Okay, so the transaction, but the merchant, how does the merchant take the payment?
The merchant just uses the smartphone.
So the merchant, the guy behind the 7-Eleven or Circle K or Lordis probably in the UK, but what, they just stand there with their own phone supplied by their company.
I would think so, because I would think first of all, right now we're just focusing on the small shop.
Right. So right now you've got the individual merchants, right? So they've got their own phone. That's what you're saying, is it? Yeah.
Okay. So but when it get mature enough, we can have the people use their own device, but has enough security so that they can still accept payment.
Right.
So I'm not too worried about creating a device for that. I think by the time we have to touch on that, I think we're pretty big already. So, but I also think that to keep this venture, I wouldn't say profitable, but it's not hard to break even if you just sell subscriptions and even some virtual goods that you can sell to the people, because we are able to get the shops to enable some coupons, discount by using the apps, and if they can spend like 5 times, they get $10 off, that kind of thing. So we can empower the shops to do it, and at the same time we can take a cut from the bonus purchase, that kind of thing. So I don't think we would need a very high burn to maintain the product or to go to the market. So I would even say that would be some sort of network effect. It would only get easier once you get over a certain amount of shops using it. So at the same time, it's actually work around some of the regulation in Hong Kong and in lots of different regions where you don't really need a money transmitter license to operate a business, because we are not really taking money from the users. So we are just empowering the shops to become a virtual alliance to accept payments together. So that doesn't really need us to get electronic payment license from the Hong Kong government.
Well, where does the money sit? When you receive the money, where does it sit?
It sits in the shops.
So it sits on the shop system. But what I'm saying, so, but when someone puts credit onto their mobile, let's say, from your system, where does that money go that they've credited onto their phone? Just sits on their phone? Where does it's virtual, right? Does it sit with you in any point?
Well, actually, right now it's in our server.
Right.
It's just a transactions.
So I guess officially,
in the long term, you wanted to move it to the blockchain whenever it makes sense.
Right.
Hopefully, become a stable coin.
Yeah.
Running on Stellar or wherever.
Right.
So it will be hopefully eventually it would be public in terms of it's just like Bitcoin. Hopefully.
Yeah. I've got it. I think I've got it. I mean, we only have a short time together, but I wanted to check in. I like the idea. I mean, my instinct, just a couple of things. I think, you want to think a little bit more deeply, and I guess it's just a brief chat, so you might have thought about this. I just throw it out there. Who is the actual client? To me, there's a crossover there between the merchant and the user. I think that if you can look after the merchant controls the environment in which they accept payments. They could. I mean, your biggest competition in Hong Kong, for example, is Octopus on this. It would only take Octopus a slight tweak to add the function of transferring money between Octopus cards. I'm surprised they've not already done that anyway. And then they would be what you're talking about, but at scale already. So, but I think this transferring of money is the addition you have that they don't have. I also think long-term your vision's bigger. I like the centralized bank for merchants piece. I think that's pretty clever. But I think, it's going to take you a while to get to that point. In the meantime, it's going to be about whether or not the merchants see you as the preferred way to accept money and start promoting you and supporting you and, encouraging people not to use Octopus and encouraging them to use your system. I think is going to be key to generating users. Or you go the other way, which I don't think you're going by the sounds of it, which is get the consumer to be the one that leads the drive into using your product. Like you say, they get, buy one, get one free or whatever system you put in place to incentivize the person to use your system and not Octopus. I mean, the other thing I would say is that, markets like the UK, there is no Octopus system, which is already, in my view, a weakness. The underground system that's used here is separate from the merchant system, which is a mistake. But it's an opportunity probably for what you're doing. I would say Hong Kong's harder to do this in, and there's a lot of, there's 3 people that own everything in Hong Kong. So it's not like there is a lot of individual merchants, but it's hard. In England, there's lots of independent businesses. Where I live, at the end of my street, there's 6 or 7 supermarket type things that would all, happily sign up to something. I think what I would add in would be a purpose into your business, a bigger picture purpose, and maybe, right now thinking about coronavirus, maybe it's, a large proportion of the money generated from this could go into some fund to help SMEs, to help small businesses, to help those small merchants, and maybe initially, stay away from the big group guys, which frankly, by the sounds of your structure, it doesn't suit you to have a chain anyway, because they're not going to give a mobile that payment themselves and put it in their pocket. So sticking with the individual merchants could be your unique selling point in the end. Actually, I think.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. Well, I mean, I haven't got much time, but is it just getting to know you and introducing you to my community as we're doing now? That's the aim. And then is there anything top line that you need at the moment, or is it the advice I've just given you enough for now? What anything I can do to help you further?
Just 30 minutes for sure. So we'd love to continue to get connected, and I think I will update you periodically about our progress, and hopefully. At some point you feel that we make enough progress and you can think of someone that you think might give us good advice or helps, we'd love to hear from you.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. I'm here to help entrepreneurs, so I like what you're doing. It's interesting. If you can build a purpose into the business, I think that would motivate me, and I think it can motivate a lot of people. So have a little think about that. And yeah, definitely. I mean, just do be a little bit careful with the regulations on this. I'm not au fait with it, but I got caught out myself. I did an equity crowdfunding business, and the SFC came down on me. So, I just wanted to help entrepreneurs get funded. But you just got to watch out, because as soon as it starts working, you don't want to get a letter from those guys. It can be quite scary. Anyway, I can tell you know what you're doing, but just my 2 cents. Get a purpose in the business that will help you, I think, and figure out who your client is very carefully, and then tailor everything to get that client on board. If it's a business, you just want them to fall in love and do nothing but recommend your service. I think that would be the key to it, scaling. And let's talk again, definitely.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. So thank you for your time, Simon. Let's keep in touch.
Absolute pleasure. Yes, thank you. Well, I'm going to admit my. Hi there.
Good morning, Simon.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm glad that I managed to meet you.
Yes, likewise. Thanks for your persistence, and thanks for reaching out. It's, I guess you never know either side, who you're going to connect with. When you get frankly a random email, I'm always nervous. What's that person like? Are they normal? But as soon as I see your face, I can tell you're normal. You're a normal person. That's good. I can see you're friendly. So that's important. Anyway, look, thanks for joining. I'm running a little bit behind this morning. But tell me about what you're doing and how we might be able to help you.
Okay, so as I mentioned in my email, I have been in construction business, construction for past 17 years. I started off working on sites as a laborer, and then in the meantime I was running my own painting company with 30 painters. So I was always really working with people, and I've seen over those years what issues we have with properties. So once they are finished, we have to obviously decorate them, and those stages include director snagging, manager snagging, and each time they have to prepare a new list of snags. And that goes to all of the trades working, which is plumbers and electricians, decorators, and those lists either get lost or they are not or it's not sometimes it's not just the lists they are being prepared. Sometimes it's just verbal on the phone. So there's a lot of time lost during those communications. So I've come up with this idea of creating a mobile phone app, which would allow to manage snagging issues of subcontractors, including communication. It would. I'll just if you don't mind, I'll just run through with the points which I've got already in my notes of what that application will do. So the app would allow to locate the issues, put the description of rectification required, photograph of the issues, allocation to subcontractor of work, reallocation of work if, for example, the client allocated to supervisor, target date for work to be completed, and then communication by text, video call, alerts if not completed in time, photographs of completed rectification as in progress photographs. And if I could run I've got, is it possible for me to share a screen? Because I've got some screenshots of my.
Don't worry right now. It's okay. I think we're just talking through the idea now for a short period of time, just to get a gist of it, and so my community can also understand what you're doing.
Okay.
So I think I get it. It's basically an app that helps fix snags in a building site. To someone and follows the task getting done, right?
Yes, and yes. So what it does, basically, there are apps like this, but those apps, they are what they do. Usually, it's only those apps are used only by site managers. So subcontractors do not have access to those apps.
Right. So what makes yours unique to it too, and then they can do the work and update the app, and everyone's aware, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I get it. As always, ideas are easy to say. I guess, not only building something like that, but getting everyone to use it. Because my experience, we're building site folks, and I've owned a construction company at one point in my life. I know it can basically be quite hard to get them to use technology, and they tend to be talented tradesmen and so on. But when it comes to technology, it's frustrating. So just that's one thing, just difficulty wise that springs to mind. But so where are you at right now? It's just an idea, or you've got it in use, or you're building it?
The app is sorry, the app is working at this moment. So I've got it's I would say beyond prototype. So I have that on my phone. I presented that to site managers, and they were, as I said in my email, they are happy to trial these on their sites. And we are at this moment we are talking 3-4 sites where usually we have 50 or over men working on site. So we are potentially talking about trials of 150 to 200 downloads, and which is not great, but right at the start, I think that the sites managers they did say that it would definitely help, and as I mentioned as well, in the current state of COVID, there are few ideas which I would like to implement, which would help out to maintain the social distancing as well, thanks to the app.
Yeah. Well, well done, first of all, for getting this far. Your email to me made me laugh when you said, I've got this idea, but my wife is not interested. That you made me smile with that comment, because I guess that's sometimes a struggle with entrepreneurs. It's convincing our partners that this is a good idea too. But I'm running a little bit late. So Benjamin, sorry I'm keeping you waiting. Sorry, I'm just running a little bit behind this morning. Thank you for being patient.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Yeah, so it's fascinating though. I think so. What do you think? What is the bottleneck? What can I do to help you? What can my network potentially do to help you?
So my issues are that I think that with the network of people I know in construction, I know that I can reach out to many people and roll it out in different sites, and so I think that. On this side, I'm not the expert, but initially I can do a lot of work. But I have no experience in monetizing anything like that. I'm not sure that that's a good way to approach this at this stage. Whether there's what I mean is that I'm not thinking about monetizing that now, but I'm thinking I'm looking for ideas what I should look for in future for this app, because again the app, it's not just directed to the construction, because I spoke to someone in the auto trade, and that gentleman told me that he could use that in his trade as well, because it's basically dealing with any issues you have within your working environment. And having that opportunity to message other people within that one specific task. The trouble is that it's hard to explain by words what the app does. Once the site managers saw the app, that's when it grabbed their attention, because that was the point where because it is different to what you can see on the market.
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
But it's a combination.
Yeah, I don't think it's that hard to explain what it does. Like I say, I think it's a pretty straightforward offering, isn't it? You're able to track third-party work being done on projects that you're managing. So from a project manager's perspective, I think it's a no-brainer. On the question of monetization, well, first of all, I can help you find people that you need. I always recommend you look at things like Angel List. There's always people on there that can help you do these things. There's lots of talent out there at the moment in particular. Airbnb just laid off 6,000 people, and part of their job was to monetize what they're doing. Anyway, not that they're necessarily the right people for you. But monetization question, there's two trains of thought on this. If you don't need the money and you can continue to develop it and doing what you're doing, I think the key would be get users. get people using it as you're doing now, talk to site managers, then get it in the hands of the third party trades folks. And I think that's a good way to go. I mean, I agree as well, it's transferable. My brother owns the largest glazing company in Cambridgeshire. I should probably give him a plug, but that would be naughty maybe. But anyway, the point I'm making is that, you know, people like his business would definitely also need this. He fits windows all across Cambridgeshire, and you know, sometimes he doesn't know if the people doing the work have done it and so on. I can just see it having lots of applications, but the key of course is people using it. And once people are using your app, switching to another one will be harder or pointless. And so that point we can think about monetization. Of course, there could be, you know, I think hardware shops, for example, would be good sponsors, good partners. I know there's a lot of, you know, battling going for like hearts and minds of trades folks to use certain tools. So, you know, Snap-on or whatever these guys, you know, all these different brands in, say, the car industry that try to get their product used over others. So I think there's a sponsorship opportunity. I think there is a user fee opportunity, a subscription company, subscription fee. I also see an opportunity with, you know, building companies like Bovis Home saying, hey, if this reduces our costs and saves us time following up, then why wouldn't we pay for this? But I think, you know, if you can wait on all of that, I would just get users if you can, and keep improving the product so it becomes more and more useful, and embed yourself in that trade industry. Maybe stay focused at the beginning. Try to, you know, the industry, you know, the building industry, get that industry under your belt before you perhaps jump into another one. But anyway, my advice is not necessarily right. You know the industry better than me, and I haven't looked at the app yet, but that's my instinct. You've definitely got something. When it comes to fundraising, which is something you mentioned in the email, I think that I would wait if you can, because having an investor, I'm an investor, so I can say this. You know, sometimes having an investor can be a pain in the butt. You know, just when's the right time?
If I may interrupt you, I think that in my email, it might be that you have received email from someone else as well, but I haven't mentioned fundraising.
Oh, sorry. Do you need fundraising? Sorry,
so apologies.
No, it's my fault. You're right. I've got a lot of emails.
I mean, my question was, I wanted to talk to you about what should I do really with that at this early stage, and that was my basic question.
Okay, got it.
And you've answered my question really. You've answered my question by trying to focus on construction and getting more users for that app. But I would like to. I mean, from my point of view, it's just it's quite hard work for just myself. I mean, I shouldn't really say that. So just forget about that. So. So I think you've answered my question that I should really focus on getting users and especially with Bovis, and see how it develops. But
yeah, I know one property development company that I can also introduce you to. So I don't know what your contacts are like in that space, but I know one. Maybe we can talk again later. I've got someone waiting for me now, so I feel a bit bad. So I'm rushing it a bit. Sorry, but yeah, I'm glad I was a little bit of help. But I like what you're doing, and good for you. Good for you getting it this far. And yeah, let's stay in touch now. Now you're part of the network, so let's stay in touch, and then just let me know when you need more help, or if you want to jump on another call and get some help.
Okay. No, that's brilliant. Okay, thank you very much, Simon.
Nice work. All right. See you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you.
And you. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you. Benjamin Ashby, thank you so much for waiting. I am so sorry to have kept you waiting. Thanks for being patient.
Yeah, no worries. How are you doing?
Good, thanks very much. How are you?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
So yeah, Josh speaks highly of you. So I'm excited to hear what you're doing and see what I can do to help you. What's going on?
Yeah, fantastic. Well, where shall I start? Shall I give you what my pitch deck says or something?
Sure, whatever feels comfortable.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll give you what my pitch deck says. It says the Arts Revolution, the company, is an all-in-one arts education solution for schools. It's powered by our automated digital platform. Schools benefit from our superior quality programs. Teachers can focus more time on students, and parents get a frictionless, beautiful experience, all for a lower cost. I don't know if that really explains it. The whole pitch deck sort of goes into more detail, but that's that in a nutshell.
Okay. Why this idea? How did you? Why is this something that's important to you?
Yeah, so I'm a musician. I studied at the Royal College of Music for about 6 years, and I've been working with orchestras and things like that, and also heavily involved with education. So I would go around the country doing education projects, and I just found the amount of music and arts tuition within the schools has dramatically decreased. It's usually very expensive to run because of the education sector's, what's the best way to put this? The education sector tends to spend a lot of money on administration, and it's usually poorly managed. So our organisation wants to basically provide schools with a superior quality set of programmes and tuition that's all run by our online platform. And this platform basically does 100% of all the administration that you would typically find, all the bureaucracy, recruitment of teachers, and that's a really big one, especially in the freelance teacher space. And we manage all the payments from parents and from schools. It generally yields about a 45% gross profit margin for us. And we've worked with 4 schools now for about just over a year. And we've made about 100,000 in our first year, just from 4 primary schools. So we've shown that there's a lot of interest in this. And definitely now is the time, especially with COVID and a recession coming. Now is the time that I think schools will really snap something up. So, yeah.
So how do you pitch it to the schools? How do you get in with them?
It's usually a fairly simple pitch, really. Just we have a solution to provide them with more creative education. Usually in the form of extracurricular, but also helping them with their core curricula. And we basically don't charge the school unless they want to contribute. So it's a free service, something that they would typically have to spend a lot of money on themselves administering. And a lot of schools feel completely lost about where to find freelance teachers, let alone find good ones. And then obviously the content of the programs and things like that, it's, for most schools it's impossible. So just by providing it, and the way I got 4 schools is I sent 1 email, and that was enough for me to trial basically anything I wanted with them. So
I think that alone is pretty impressive, because a lot of the time schools can be very sensitive who they align with, right? They've got a reputation to protect, and they don't want to work with something that's going to let down anyone in their ecosystem, right? So
they are very hard to get to if you're cold calling, that's for sure. So it definitely requires a real trust level. I'd already gained quite a lot of trust with some of these schools because of the organisations that I've been working with. And I think that's really helped.
I guess now you've got 4 people using you, and you've done a good job. In theory, with case studies, it should get easier, right?
Yeah, well, I was on an accelerator program about a year ago, which has helped us develop a scalable model. So I think what's unique about what we do is we have a nationally scalable model. So 32,000 schools, and our hope is to basically be the provider for all of those. I know that's very ambitious, but so our next stage is actually onboarding 12 more to make 16 schools and test a new platform. So we've got to develop the platform fully, and then we need to test it with 16. And I think after that, it should be pretty easy to onboard new schools, really. And our tact would be going via academy groups. So we're in touch with one academy group that has 64 schools already. And that's quite an easy win, I think, if you win one board over. So yeah, that's kind of...
Oh, I think it's a very good idea, and I'm very excited for you. What's the bottleneck? What do you need help with? Where's the pain?
So I think, this is, we're still fairly early stages, although I think we've done all the testing, the research, we know exactly what our solution needs to be now. And I think cash is actually now what needs to take us to the next level. So we're trying to raise just the SAIS limit for now to do our 16 school MVP and get this platform functioning really well. And then I think at that stage we'll then look at how we can then scale up again after that. So looking at maybe 100 schools.
Okay, so it's a funding requirement, the main thing right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. What are the funds used for exactly?
So sorry, say again.
What are the funds used for? Is it what's the use of funds? Is it technology enhancement or what?
So it's almost entirely technology at this stage. So developing the platform and testing it and working with the schools. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of pain for the schools using them at the start. So that's why we're sort of trying to use just 16 for now. And then some of that money will also be used for marketing our solution more widely. And we'd also like to use the platform to be able to connect our freelance teachers with the general public too. So
Yeah, I get it. All right, and fundraising wise, is it something you started, or something you're in the middle of, or something you're not sure where to begin? What's your...
So the accelerator, in theory, is helping us raise. So the chats have started, but the chats literally started 2 days before lockdown. So we chose bad timing, really. So that's kind of where we're at. We're sort of having our discussions now.
Yeah, I mean, I would just push back a bit, and it's bad timing. I actually see a lot of people raising money right now, believe it or not. A lot of the people are more available than they used to be, willing to have a Zoom chat with a good idea. Frankly, most people that were investing still have the money sitting there. In fact, they got to deploy it. So, and I think what you're talking about here could be very, very important during the new world we're about to enter back into, with the lockdown being eased. I think there's all sorts of needs for new technologies, and I think what you're offering could be quite valuable. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, I think it's actually a good time to push back on the fundraising. What accelerator was it?
So it's called Resurgo Ventures. It's for social impact for-profit ventures.
I can't believe I haven't heard of them. Sound good.
Yeah.
I don't
know if they're Gordon Eichhorst.
The where, sorry?
Gordon Eichhorst.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. All right. Well, I mean, I would push. Look. I don't know. On the funding side, there's a few things I could think of. Have you listed your business on AngelList?
I haven't yet. No.
Yeah, do that. It's free. Okay. I always plug angellist.com, and it's not because I'm an investor. I just think they're a really good platform. I think they're really interesting, and it's a good entry point into just a wider audience of investors. And I think there's a lot of people on that platform. You can see who's investing in what, that will be interested in what you're doing. And all you need to do is list it, and then just poke around in there. You're going to see some interesting folks doing some interesting investments. There's a lot of syndicates as well, which I think may well be interested in what you're doing, but that's one easy, low-hanging fruit, won't cost you anything thing to do. I think I'd push back with the accelerator folks and get on Zooms with investors. Everyone needs to do something. We've all sat back for 7 weeks, but now's the time, and get in there before anyone else does. And say, look, actually, I want to talk to investors. Now is the time. I think there is another option. Just throwing it out there. I'm not, I don't know the ins and outs or how you feel. And are you the sole founder?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just about to release a video on this. I think so. I've been a sole founder. It can be very lonely at certain points. That aside, the emotional part aside, I think having a tech co-founder could be another way to go. And so I still think you're going to need money, don't get me wrong, but it could remove initially the need for all the money to go into the tech side. If you, again, I mean, AngelList is a good example. They have the ability for you to list what you need, a tech person, and you may find it there, and then they may not own. I've hired people, well, I brought people in as partners that have invested in the business, taken a bit of equity, and then done the job that you're talking about for 3 or 4 months to get it up and running and out the door. And if you find the right person, and I don't think it's as hard as it sounds, it can reduce the need for money, which frankly, you know, as I was just saying to Paul Wilde a minute ago, my belief is, you know, as an investor, sometimes it can be a pain in the arse to have investors. You know, you've got, in your case, you've got teachers to look after, you've got the schools to look after, you know, you really don't want one more person that you have to manage and deal with, ideally. That doesn't mean to say there aren't value investors, that doesn't mean to say you shouldn't raise money, that's just, you know, what can you do in the interim to parallel the investor track? Because again, selling to investors, I'd rather you were selling to schools and building up the relationship with the ecosystem instead of spending time with an investor. However, if that investor can bring you good advice or bring you tech support or can bring you access to, let's say, universities, schools and so on, then great, they're value-added investors, which I think would help a lot right now. But yeah, a co-founder could be something to think about. I don't know how you feel about that advice, but...
Yeah, it's definitely something I have been considering carefully. I always took someone on before, and I decided it probably wasn't the right fit going forward. But I have a very good friend of mine who I'm considering taking on as our CTO. So he's a developer, he's been very busy doing all sorts of projects, but he might be free now. And what he's quoted is you know, a third of what it would normally cost. So that's why we can probably do quite a lot with an SCIS limit, rather than needing any more than that.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you want, we can have another chat about this, but I think there's a way to structure a co-founder relationship that can really be powerful if you get it right. The key is, you know, it's kind of like Simon Sinek thing where it's like what you do and how you do it, but why you do it, right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You know, I think that why you do it bit, you know, if you talk to the right person, they want to join your cause. Money is the last thing you talk about. You know, normally I've had like months of conversations with someone about the purpose of the business and what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And at the end, they're like, oh, I need to pay the bills. So what are we going to do about that? You know, so you just, you know, the money conversation, they're a third cheaper, but you know, that's not, for me, that's not the most important thing. I want them to be the right fit, as you said about the other person, you know, like, and I want them to care about the mission in the same way that you do. And we'll figure out how to pay all our bills. But if you get that bit in place, then the passion's there, the focus is there. You know, I know, because I've worked with a lot of technical people in my career, you know, if that person's passionate about it, you know, they're not going to be working 9 till 5 and then clocking off. They're going to be, you know, 3 a.m, they're still working on it because they're so obsessed with getting this into the world and helping people or whatever it is, right? So that's what you want. You don't want someone that says, here's my contract, this is, you know, it will take 3 months, it's, you know, £50,000, blah, blah, blah. You know, you want someone like, just let me go and build this, you know, like the kind of obsessed program. And to be honest, right now, I mean, again, I don't want to keep harping on about AngelList, but I am seeing so much talent enter the market with people like Airbnb pulling back. They're releasing into the market people that just wouldn't be looking because they get so well paid in these glamorous positions in Airbnb and so on. But if your purpose is really strong, they're sitting at home right now with no job. I've never seen it before in places like Silicon Valley. You know, like, you know, I think now is the time to really, you know, bring on tech support. And the good thing about tech support is you don't need to be sitting in London with you. I'm assuming you're in London. So you know, you don't need them to be sitting in London with you. And I think, you know, I would prioritize this idea over getting money from someone. But anyway, I mean, maybe do both so you don't get caught out in case you can't find the person and you haven't started the process of raising money. So start, you know, prod the accelerator, put it out there a bit, and send it to me as well. I'm interested to invest in something like this.
Fantastic. Yeah, brilliant. Or maybe I can send you the pitch deck.
Yeah, sure, feel free. All right, I'm a bit behind, so I've got Zoe, my next guest, and a friend of mine waiting. So
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Not at all. Good stuff. Well done.
Thank you.
Love it. All right. See you soon.
Bye.
Hi, Zoe.
Morning, how are you?
Good. It's what, 5 in the morning for you there?
It is, yes. Greetings from Miami. It's actually 4 in the morning. So.
Oh, 4 in the morning.
Yes.
Oh, wow. You got
That's
the time.
Okay.
You told me 5, I think. Or now you're making me feel less guilty about.
I'm excited to be able to talk to you, so it's all good.
All right. So what's going on?
Okay, so I have an idea, and I've been mulling around this idea for quite some time before COVID's come along. But I think even more so, it's made me kind of step back and think about how I can contribute to the world in a small way. So the idea I have is essentially bringing a mobile integrated tech solution to job seeking and organisational, talent scouting. So if you were to imagine, if you've ever been onto a Bumble or Tinder, let's say, which is a dating website, there's a matching service. And there's a range of skills and personality and all attributes that you want of somebody. This kind of framework can be used to kind of match employer and a potential employee. And I think that the world that we're in now is where you can't go to interview with people. You have to have integrated services such as being able to screen candidates and obviously organisations. But the gift would be, because now we're in a time where there's so many jobs, I think we're probably up to in January about 33 million in the UK. It was saying that that's the record high according to the ONS, the national statistics. There's going to be so many applications for one job, so the employers are going to be drenched with a lot of noise, let's say, and they may not have the skill, because I think you're going to find a lot of people going for a job that don't have necessarily the right skills, but they're applying because there's a little bit of aspiration to get a job. And equally so, then you've got people that are talented that need to cut through that noise to get to an employer because they do have the right skills, let's say. So there's a match out there for everybody, and the gift would be is that where companies are trying to streamline, you can't necessarily afford the 6 recruiters or 1 recruiter or however many to be just screening CVs. So you can cut through that noise with the right infrastructure, algorithms, etc. in the tool that now allows this matching service. And you don't have to stop there. You can use this tool as an educational tool, so you can tap it into having to look at what salary this job pays for this area, do some comparison, get reviews on the organisation, what is it like to work there, the culture, how can I get somebody to help me write my CV or review it, how do I get career advice, how do I sharpen my interview skills, all of these kind of things. And if we were to do a subscription basis, it would unlock certain features within that technology to be able to allow access to that. So in a nutshell, I'll stop there and then you can guide me as to prod me so I can, because it's all in my head. I've got a pitch deck, but it's kind of in my head right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're a very clever individual, Zoe, and I know, for anyone listening, Zoe and I went to school together way too many years ago, and I'm a big fan of Zoe. I think she's very smart. But Zoe, I think your idea is really interesting. I guess, as someone that doesn't know much about the recruitment business, a couple of things go through my mind. One is I don't know the competitive landscape. I don't know what's out there already. It kind of shocks me that there isn't, let's call it, a Tinder for recruitment already in place. 2 years ago, every single pitch I got was, an Uber for this or Tinder for that. And I'm surprised there's not either a failure story or 2 out there we can learn from, or a success or 2 out there that we can learn from. I think the other thing that jumps through my mind when I hear it is just so many different ways that it can go. That's a good thing, but there seems like the matching up your skills to a job that's available, and let's call it replacing the interview, which I quite like, all the way through to the mentoring, how I need help with this, I need help with that kind of thing. That in a way they're 2 apps, And I think, if I've learned anything from all the companies I've invested in and all the founders I've worked with and seen how they all operate, is that focus is the key to making something work, really having a niche. So for example, if the mentorship and all that stuff, or the help that people need that you just described, which I definitely think people need, I think that could be an amazing standalone app. Or you say that could come later, and we just, focus in on replacing the interview, for example, which I actually find the interview process so frustrating personally. I'm trying to hire someone at the moment, and it's like you've got to have 3 or 4 interviews, and you just feel like it just takes so long to get to the truth of what that person wants and what they really are interested in. Are they going to really care about what what they might end up doing for you, and so on and so forth. If you can remove that pain point in a period where people are less likely to want to have a face-to-face, I think there's real legs in that. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think I agree with you in terms of starting with something very focused. And I was thinking particularly around audience growth. It can take a while to build up an audience. I mean, I know it's accelerated now versus it was some years ago. But what you don't want to do is have to restart a new business every time your product evolves. So to scale where it's got phasing to add on different products and services, it would be by demand. So I think the struggle that I have at the moment is what research do I need to kind of add back, because I have done competitor landscape around. There is 2 other kind of like major players, but they still don't have what I would call the breadth. So as a job seeker, as you know, not only I've got many fingers in pies, but I don't want to, at some point I might have to look for a job myself, let's say back in the corporate world. And what I would be looking for would be a C-suite job, which I'm not necessarily looking for this app to do. There's got to be some kind of density around, what is the demand and how we get access to that. So I think clever marketing, I'm not a marketeer, so that's somewhere where I'm a gap skill. I have partnered with somebody else that, is a talent expert. And I think that there's definitely some legs in it, because there's nothing out there right now that's got, in my mind, this kind of encapsulated solution, which is not so difficult to replicate. Any software developer can look at a Bumble or Tinder and go, yeah, I can replicate that to a degree. It's the robustness of it. And if I think about the dating world and how many people use a Tinder or Bumble, I think Bumble's 22 million users, just kind of current research in 2019, but that's not even 2020. Who knows what people's mindset is coming out of COVID? And I think that there's a lot of necessary, we're not in normal times and people are in normal. There's a lot more sensitivity in how people communicate. I definitely think there's some legs in around the communication side of it, even between organisations and potential candidates, potential employers. So there's definitely, I get what you're saying in terms of being focused and it could grow. I know that there's something out there that could benefit from this. And maybe it's not even of right now, maybe there's a 3 to 6 months time that this is required for, because right now everyone's a bit crazy with what they're doing in their business and they've got to remodel what their business now is. So for example, if you're an in-store retailer, maybe you switch your business through COVID completely online and your needs are different. Your workforce needs to shift to a digital, much more heavily digital workforce, and that will require skill. So yes, there's a lot of talent available, but how do you match those is probably what I keep thinking where the bottleneck is going to be. So I think even the chap before me that you were speaking to talked about, recruiting teachers. I'm not saying this is specifically targeted at teachers, but why not? Why wouldn't you be able to, for you yourself, be able to go onto an app? Who do I match with? And that gives me accessibility to message them or communicate with them in a much more targeted way.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think I wouldn't wait too long on this. I actually think now is the time. I think I see a huge demand on the workforce side. There's 26 million people unemployed in the US, or 15%. I know that all those people downloading this app and being able to find a job, for example, would be pretty exciting. That would align with my mission, by the way, because I want to help 10% of that workforce start a business of their own, which I think is another avenue of things like this, you know, like you're talking earlier about mentorship and coaching and so on. Anyway, I guess there's a few parts. I would go and look at some of the tech platforms that have these ideas running and how they're pitching it and what they're offering. I've been plugging this morning for some reason Angel List, but I think it's also relevant for you. Go and have a poke around that site and have a look at what's there already, because there's quite a lot of recruitment apps and so on. And then you can maybe figure out from all the different suite of things that you could be doing within the app where you might be unique. On the marketing side, I think I'm gonna shock you with this idea, and maybe initially you're not gonna like it, but just something to have in your mind.
Go for it. You know I love it. That's okay.
I think it's just, you know, maybe just you know, thinking a bit laterally. Again, I don't think you're initially going to like this idea, but just to put it out there, I have done a lot of work with people like Manpower and these brands. They find it really hard to innovate in this space, but they've got the client base and the connections and the network and the marketing system in place. You know, if you can get this up and running to a prototype stage, I think it could be worth approaching them. Now, I know counterintuitive because you're thinking they could just do it, but they won't. You know, they would rather work with someone that's doing it, build it up with you and then buy it. Not that you need to sell it, but just conceptually, you know, like if you look at some of the early investors in some of the most successful businesses, they were, you know, Apple invested in Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft invested in Apple. You know, like, it seems random, right? Yeah, but it's, and I've worked with a lot of corporations, and I know this is a wheelhouse you know well, but you know, I work with a lot of these corporations, and you know, quite often, I mean, let's take American Express for example, you know, recruiting people or helping their card holders find the perfect match, you know, like whichever way it goes, they've got the client base or the need, and you can do some pilots with these people. Maybe American Express as an example is a little easier because they're not a recruitment company and therefore maybe too close to it, but I mean, even I think about LinkedIn, and I know a few folks at LinkedIn, but you know, if LinkedIn are doing stuff around this themselves, there's all sorts of different elements around LinkedIn. They're doing an education piece, of course. They're doing a matching piece. I mean, I get alerts now saying these 5 people have identified you as someone that could help them, mentor them, give them advice, and they send me a question. I don't know if you see those things, but the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, again, it might sound crazy, but if you can get it to a prototype stage, and it's got, you know, got a bit of a proof of concept, we can approach these people and see if they can help you on the marketing side because they've already set up and structured.
I'm glad that you said that, because it is something on my kind of the considerations is how to get a prototype to sell. So not shocking to me, actually surprising. I did think about not actually launching to, you know, myself, but is there an opportunity? Is it desirable to be bought as a solution? And LinkedIn are very clever what they do, but they've also got some limitations as a user, and negotiated heavily with them over the past 5 years. Their cost is I mean, and maybe that would be remodelled in our new world. Their cost is fairly significant to partner or to kind of like to bring solutions to organisations. And I think just a very standard solution to even learning and recruitment, you know, 1,000 for a medium-sized business. And I don't know that businesses are going to want to be able to contract for a year or two when it comes to enterprise, that kind of, or maybe they do, but I think flexibility, companies are going to want more flexibility, I think, and to be able to do something on a subscription basis, whether it's a month to month or whatever kind of restrictions you want to put around it, is much more flexible. Now, that does mean that to predict then revenue and there's a little bit more unstable because it's not, let's say it's not precedented right now, but in terms of it's not an ongoing cost for this, so let's call it Todd's Talent on Demand app, for argument's sake. It's a solution that you buy, and it's a tool that is not dependent on multiple people, you know, being involved in running. It's quite standalone cost, and then the subscription basis is what keeps it rolling. So actually, the power is between the employer, the employer and the job seeker. So you're kind of removing out. And if you wanted to expand it in the future to be where coaches and experts, subject matter experts, can also subscribe on there and be available as an additional cost. So you've got access to a community of people. that could be something else to scale to. But I know that makes it not focused in one area, but it gives you a basket of tools, and LinkedIn doesn't have that. At the moment, let's say, you can, there's a lot of, I mean, I'm approached every day, I'm sure you are, to offer jobs and all this, that and the other, and it's quite irritating to get a lot of, 50 emails to go through all of those. There might be one of them that's worth something, but you've got to spend the time in cutting through quite a lot of noise. So I take on board everything you've said. I think I'm going to, I'm not sure where to go next.
Okay.
I'll have a look around the angel list that you mentioned.
Another idea, just to throw it out there. Have you read the book, The Lean Startup?
No.
Okay, you must read this book. I wish I'd written it. It's such a good book.
Okay.
But basically, I can give you the basics, and the basic, get it, read it, you'll like it. But basically, a big part of it is, before going off and building anything and getting all hyped up and all these different angles on it, they basically say test the market. They call it a minimum viable product, and basically, I mean, Dropbox is one of their case studies, and Dropbox didn't go away and build all the technology. They just did a little video saying what they were offering, and then people subscribed, and then they knew they had demand. You could do that.
Right.
If you, I think you need to listen to episode 8 of the Good Luck Club podcast. Patrick Lee, he co-founded Rotten Tomatoes, the number one movie rating site in the world, and he talks about focus, and he defines focus quite interestingly. So I don't want to steal his thunder, but basically focus in this is, I think, going to be key. And I have my own lean on this, so I'm not saying this is the right idea, but I want to help the unemployed right now start a business of their own. Now, if you can build an app that everyone then downloads and it can help them either upskill to get a job in the new world, or learn to start your own business, for example, or help those people. I mean, that focusing on that unemployed folks right now, I think it's really interesting. It's very purposeful. Now, it's just my idea because that's my mission. You don't have to, but conceptually, maybe. And the other end is what you're talking about, which is the C-suite folks that, once they filter out all the shit and all the crap they get on LinkedIn, and they just want good opportunities presented to them, and they want to be proactive, because I think a lot of the time, I know I'm like this, I don't look these days for opportunities. They come to me because of my reputation, but I like the idea that there is an app out there searching for the dream thing I could be doing or helping, or in my case the dream company I could be helping, or in your case the dream business you could be working with, right? So putting your love criteria in there, and your purpose and your passion and your why into an app that then goes out and finds the perfect opportunity for you in the atmosphere, I think is interesting. That's another focus. But I think just a general recruitment app is such a broad thing. There's so many areas. I think you need to get into a very focused niche area, own it, and then expand outwards. And I think the Lean Startup will teach you. It's a simple book, but will teach you this focused point. And it will teach you the MVP, the minimum viable product point, which might give you a place. To be honest, going and building the app, which I know is also, it's not my skill set to build an app, it's not your skill set to build the app. I could give the advice I gave the last caller, which is, put it on Angel list that you need an app developer and all that. But, maybe it's not an app that you need to go and build. It's just a well-written article and a good video explaining what you're doing and checking if the market wants it. And then if they do, maybe doing a crowdfunding. I'm just making this up, but doing a crowdfunding campaign for them to be, early adopters and support you, and then that gives you the funding to go and hire the team to make it. For example, there's so many different ways step by step go about this. But I think the first thing is, read that book, have a look around at the competition, go a little bit deeper into an area on this app that's going to keep you excited and engaged. And my instinct is the C-suite for you, because you know that world so well, and that sort of thing. If it was me, I'd be going down the help the unemployed, get skilled up to start their own business. But everyone, you got to think what's good for you, and what's right for your skill set, and how you can make it unique.
Yeah, I think the mass unemployed is where I kind of go towards, because when you've got, if for example, if you doing some rough, dirty figures, this could be very lucrative. Let's say a subscription-based tool. If it was to be very successful, that means that you've got then, I believe, the bandwidth to use a lot of that money to help other people. So how do you link in it's about purpose. How do you
Yeah.
donate 10 or 20% or whatever it is
Sure.
to whether it's startups or it's helping people to find purpose as well as, a career should be very purposeful.
I mean, to be honest with you,
and
I think the C-suite, the sweet C-suite category, helping them find purpose, and then the funds from that go towards helping the unemployed who aren't going to pay you anything for this app, or are going to give you any funding. Now, using some of the funds from helping C-suite find purpose and find a job with purpose could be very powerful to then lead into, helping the unemployed get back to work or get a job or start a business of their own, which is my ambition for people in that situation. So there could be, just to figure out, you don't have to start at the unemployed. That's where I'm starting, but you could start at the C-suite because you know it so well, help them find purpose, which I think you know quite well, in your coaching and mentoring side, and then build a system that allows, that system to go and find that for them based on their personality traits. That's interesting, right? I mean, that fits your skill set.
Yes.
You are that person, you know what it's like. There is money in that space which could generate the money you need to build this out, that could generate the money you need to build out a purpose-driven business. Right, exactly. So it doesn't have to start with helping the people that, and the purpose. It could start out helping the people that can fund the purpose. Kind of the Bill Gates model, which is, make Microsoft make money and then I'll take that money and go do something purposeful,
Yeah, got it. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for the advice. I really appreciate it.
Of course. I love the way you think.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Well, when you need to chat again, just let me know. I'm conscious it's now 4:23 a.m. for you, so why don't I let you go do your yoga and meditation and fun stuff, and then we can chat. We can chat again once you've digested what we talked about.
Yeah, thank you, Simon, and thank you for the opportunity to just come on and chat about it. So I think you're doing a great thing by doing this for other people. So you've inspired me to kind of how can I contribute with my background, and that's where it comes from, a place of there. So thank you for listening. Have a great day. I'll speak soon.
Wonderful. Nice to speak to you, Zoe. Enjoy Miami.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, folks, so that's today's broadcast. We had 4 fascinating entrepreneurs, very different stories, very different ideas, all looking at ways they can build a business with purpose and build something that they're passionate about. I've enjoyed the broadcast myself this morning. Hopefully we've all learned something from these entrepreneurs, these 4 entrepreneurs that have shared their story. I think they're brave to come on and share their story with the world. I'm always honoured that people reach out for help from me and try my best to give sincere and honest, impartial advice. And I don't know what you guys think of the broadcast today. I'm always interested in feedback. If there's a way I can make it more interesting for you, if there's a way that you guys would like to engage more with this content, with these entrepreneurs, with my platform, Entrepreneurs Helping Entrepreneurs, please reach out, please let me know. If you think anything here this morning was useful to someone else, please share it. Please also equally let me know what I can do to help anybody out there, including maybe you, have a more prosperous, exciting business life. I have personally built 17 companies from scratch, invested in over 65 startups. I know a thing or two about business. I certainly don't know everything. That's why I have a podcast show, Good Luck Club, where I interview some of the world's most successful and interesting entrepreneurs and change makers. You can find that podcast for free on YouTube. You can also find it on Spotify and Apple Music. And so we're on episode 20, which will air on Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Again, live on YouTube. You're welcome to join. The entrepreneur will be Dr. Christina Dean. She is the founder of the R Collective. She has built a charity called Redress, which is trying to redress the issue of fashion pollution. And she has started a new business called the R Collection, which is working with luxury brands and luxury fashion industry to make luxury products recyclable and use luxury products in a recyclable way. So she's an inspiring individual. She is actually a trained dentist. She gave up that long ago to pursue her purpose-driven entrepreneurial life. She'll be live on Thursday morning, 10 a.m. So if you guys want to join and listen to that, you'd be absolutely welcome. I will be releasing a new video on YouTube on Saturday. I've been working on it this week, which is 5 entrepreneurial hacks to be happier. And I'll talk about all sorts of different ways that you guys can enjoy your business life more and help you feel less alone if you're an entrepreneur and you feel alone, which I know I have done at points in my entrepreneurial career. I always say if you're feeling alone, you're not doing it right, you shouldn't feel alone. And that's part of why I do these broadcasts, so entrepreneurs out there with ideas can help. Jess Albert, your question, can you repeat her name? Yes, it's Dr. Christina Dean. She's the founder of the R Collective. You can actually see the live broadcast on my YouTube channel. You just see it and you can set a reminder. We'll be live 10 a.m. UK time this Thursday. It'll also be available on Spotify and Apple Music, and we'll be live on iHeartRadio on Thursday. So you can listen to that. You can also listen to all the past podcasts from some absolutely incredible individuals. Simon Long, for example, who's the founder of WeLab Bank, now the largest online bank in the world, 43 million customers. He shares his story, how he started, his purpose, his business philosophy on my podcast show. You can go and listen to that. We had Patrick Lee, I just mentioned to Zoe a moment ago, the founder of Rotten Tomatoes, the world's most successful today and back when he started movie rating website. I know I only watch a movie if Rotten Tomatoes tells me it's good. It's that good at getting it right. And he talks about his journey. He's done many startups and he's failed, he's succeeded. He talks through the whole process. He even gets into the purpose of life. So there's 19 episodes there, guys, for you to consume. And if you're interested in being an entrepreneur, or you are an entrepreneur needing a bit of knowledge, a bit of inspiration, a bit of insight, a new angle on things, go listen to those podcasts. I think they'll blow your mind. So that's it. Jess Alba, thanks for joining. Peter Armstrong, glad you enjoyed it. So kind of you to say. Jing, it's so nice to see you coming on to these broadcasts, and we only connected a few weeks ago, and now I feel like you're a part of this. So thank you, Jing, for joining. Connor, as always, thanks for supporting and moderating. And absolute pleasure to see you all, and I hope you enjoyed my entrepreneurs' insights today and sharing their ideas. If you're interested in helping any of them, let me know. I can talk forever, so I will end the broadcast here. Thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you Friday, 8 a.m. for the next live broadcast with entrepreneurs. I will also be live